All right, diving right in. Today, we're tackling Microsoft Azure, specifically how it's all put together and what it can do.
Yeah, we're taking a look under the hood.
We're basing this deep dive on the Describe Azure Architecture and Services Learning Path over on Microsoft Learn.
That's a good one.
So think of this as like a crash course in Azure Fundamentals.
Exactly, like a cheat sheet for the core concepts.
Now, this is actually part two of our three-part series.
Right.
We kicked things off talking about cloud concepts generally,
Uh-huh.
and after this, we're going to wrap up with Azure management and governance.
Sounds good.
By the way, we're assuming you're already somewhat familiar with IT in general for this deep dive.
Just the basics, really.
Okay, so let's get to it. The learning path starts by talking about the fundamental building blocks of Azure, the core architectural components.
Right, the underlying infrastructure.
So what are we talking about here? Like, what's a physical reality of Azure?
Well, it's a vast network of data centers spread across the globe, literally. And all the resources and services in Azure are built and managed on top of this infrastructure.
I see, so that's the foundation.
Absolutely. And in this module, there's even an opportunity to get hands-on and actually create an Azure resource yourself.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice way to get some practical experience later on.
That's a great idea. Okay, so these data centers, how does Azure organize them all?
Well, think of it in terms of regions. So these are geographical areas around the world where you find one or more data centers.
Okay.
Then within those regions, you have what are called availability zones. These are physically separate data centers within the same region.
So like separate buildings, totally isolated.
Exactly. And that's crucial for understanding the resilience and availability that Azure offers.
It makes sense. You don't want everything in one spot in case something happens.
Exactly. And you want redundancy built in from the ground up.
Makes sense. Now, after that, the learning path shifts gears a bit and talks about compute and networking services.
Yeah.
So what's the big picture here?
Basically, Azure provides a wide range of services that allow you to run applications and connect them together.
Okay, so the processing power and the connections.
Right. And the key thing to understand here is the flexibility. It doesn't really matter if you need traditional virtual machines or something more modern and abstract. Azure's got you covered.
Interesting.
And similarly, it provides all the networking tools you need to link these resources together.
So both within Azure itself and to your own on-premises infrastructure.
Exactly.
It's all connected. Okay, so what about storage?
Right. Good question. Data storage is crucial, and Azure offers a variety of different storage services.
Okay.
I mean, it's got everything from simple file storage to these massive data lakes. You can store pretty much anything.
Sounds comprehensive. What makes cloud storage different from, say, traditional storage?
One of the most fascinating things about cloud storage is its distributed nature.
Like, how's that work?
So think about it. Traditional on-premises storage often has a single point of failure, right?
Meaning, if that one thing breaks, you're out of luck.
Yeah, but with Azure, your data is replicated across multiple locations.
So multiple copies in different places.
Right, often within the same region, but sometimes even globally.
So even if one data center goes down, your data's safe somewhere else.
Exactly. This changes the game for how businesses think about data durability and accessibility.
That's a huge benefit.
Okay.
Okay, last but not least, the learning path covers identity, access, and security.
Yeah, the essential stuff.
So how does Azure approach this?
It's all about ensuring that only the right people have access to the right resources and that their actions are properly controlled.
Like a security guard for your data.
You could say that. First, there's authentication. This verifies who a user actually is.
Like proving you are who you say you are.
Right. And then authorization determines what that authenticated user can do.
So what they're allowed to access and modify.
Exactly. And Azure provides a whole bunch of tools and services to manage all of this securely.
So keeping your data and applications safe in the cloud.
Right.
Makes sense. So to sum up, what we've learned from this Microsoft Learn module is that Azure provides this whole foundational set of architectural components.
Yeah.
Like regions and availability zones.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it has these essential compute, networking, storage, and security services.
These are the fundamental building blocks for creating and managing cloud solutions.
So whether you're studying for the AZ-900 exam, trying to learn more about tech, or just curious about the cloud in general, this deep dive gives you a solid starting point for understanding what Azure is all about.
I think so.
Now, here's something for you to think about. How could the inherent resilience and global reach of Azure's infrastructure, particularly its distributed storage and service availability, open up entirely new possibilities for how organizations design their applications and serve their customers worldwide.
That's a good question.
What innovative solutions become feasible with this kind of underlying power and redundancy?
That's something to ponder.
It really makes you think about the future of technology.
It does.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
See you next time.
We'll catch you in the next one.
Okay, sounds good.